Here's why I don't believe in God, okay? Now, yesterday I uploaded a video, and the video was on my thoughts on religion and whatnot, and I'm already getting tons of inboxes asking me why I don't believe in God. People really want me to believe in God. I know this topic is very important to people, but here's why I don't believe in a God, okay? At least based on the concepts of God that we've been exposed to. If God is a singular, eternal, all-knowing, all-loving, omnipresent being, perfect and complete within itself, what is the point of him thinking, I'm going to create other beings in the first place? Because the moment he does that, he would know every person is fake after that, dependent, temporary. He alone would be the only real being because he alone was never created. So then what would be the point of right and wrong? What's the point of sin and salvation? What's the point of heaven for the good and hell for the bad? And if he already knows the end from the beginning, then the whole drama is staged. He knows what you'll say before you say it. So why require prayer as a communication tool? Why would your lips need to move if your thoughts are already known? And if he's perfect, why the need for worship in the first place? What truly perfect being requires validation from the very beings that he designed? And here's another problem. Why would you even have to hear about this God in order to believe it? That already puts people at a disadvantage. If you're born deaf, you'd have to first learn sign language before someone can explain the idea of God to you. If you were born blind, how could you even conceptualize invisible or unseen? For someone like Helen Keller, who can neither see nor hear, how would she know? And yet we're told our eternal fate is based on us believing in a being that's harder to communicate than Wawa. And that makes no sense. You understand? Now, some people try and justify it and say, if there is no God, then who created us? And who created the world? But think about this. Have they considered that it makes less sense for a God to create the world than for life to be the byproduct of natural processes? Because what use does an all-knowing God have for knowledge when there's nothing outside of it to know? What use would an all-loving God have for love when there's no one outside of it to love? What use does an omnipresent God have for presence when there's nowhere for it to exist because nothing exists without him creating it? See, before creation, he has knowledge with nothing to know. He has love but no lover. And we're supposed to believe that he created all of this just to test people, judge people, punish people, knowing the outcome from the very beginning. That's like a child creating dolls, making up a story, and then digging up a fire pit in the backyard to throw the bad dolls in. It's not divine, it's dysfunctional. Think about this. This only makes sense when seen as an allegory. The stories in these holy books make far more sense as interpretations of how ancient people saw the cosmos. They weren't describing a literal history or a literal deity playing with human lives. They were describing the sun's journey through the heavens, through the zodiac, the celestial story in the sky. That's why the Son of God rises and sets and resurrects after 3 days in darkness. That's why judgment happens in Libra, the scales. And that's why the fish symbolizes Pisces. All right, so this is not stories of God testing his creation. These are poetic stories explaining the seasons, death, rebirth, morality, consciousness. If you look at it in literal terms, it makes God cruel and absurd. But through allegory, the story transforms. Sin becomes ignorance, salvation becomes enlightenment, and heaven becomes harmony. Hell becomes suffering. So listen to this. Why would a perfect God need to create, test, and judge? Why would you need to hear about it in order to have a chance at salvation? And why would Helen Keller be at a greater disadvantage to reach God than to reach water, speak water? It only makes sense if the story's not literal at all. It only makes sense as an allegory, an attempt to explain the cosmos, the zodiac, and life. So if you take it literally, the point is madness. But if you understand it through allegory, it's wisdom. And I think the real lesson is God was never meant to be a sky king pulling strings. God is always an allegory, simply pointing us back to the source within ourselves. Now, I want you guys to think about this. For humans, right? God is the highest concept that we could imagine at the time of creating God, okay? We die, so therefore God is eternal. We are ignorant of a lot of things in the world, so therefore God is all knowing. Okay? We are flawed, so therefore God is perfect. You understand? We are limited, vulnerable, therefore God is all powerful. We're limited as far as we can only be at one place at one time, but God is omnipresent. Don't you see how God is the highest that we could imagine at the time? And this is the thing that I try to get across to people, okay? I am not here to try and take your beliefs from you. I'm not here to try to make you believe. I am actually here for you to think, to get you to think, not to believe. So think, family. And if you put your mind into it, and most people don't think this far, but ask yourself, what's the reason for all of this if there is a God? Have you ever asked yourself that? If you already know what everybody's gonna do, then there's no purpose to it. There's no purpose other than your own desires. If I know you're gonna fail, why would I test you? If I know you're gonna go to hell, why even create you to begin with? You understand? To me, it's ridiculous. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't want to offend you guys, but I believed in this stuff for years and years, man. Preached it and everything, taught it, everything. But that was without putting literal thought into it. You understand? It was based on believing and being convinced by my peers, by the people I loved and trusted. But when I did my own research, when I put my own critical thought into these things, I understand this. If I were given an opportunity to read these books for myself without anyone trying to convince me to believe in them, I would not believe in them. They don't line up with reality. They don't make any sense as far as how things actually go in the world. And you have to submit your critical thinking faculty to it in order to read it and believe it. There's no way you believe these things happen unless you're separating it from logic. There'd have to be superpowers and miraculous things that this world doesn't show you in order for these things to be possible in these books. But I mean, even if it were all possible, even if these things were all possible, you have to ask yourself, if there is a God who created us, who has a place for us if we're good, a place for us if we're bad, who wants us to grow and learn and evolve, and the question is, why? Why, man? If I'm an all-knowing being, and guys, you may not believe it, but if you were an all-knowing being, you would not waste your time creating any type of beings, knowing full well how they're going to behave, knowing full well the ups and downs of them, every little nuance. You wouldn't wait for them to pray to you because you already know what they're going to say. Why would you waste your time? If God decided to create human beings, you know, because he knows the end from the beginning, he would already know how it's going to turn out. So what's the point of punishing people in a hell? What's the point of rewarding them with a heaven? The way I see it, these concepts come from human minds. I see no way that this could be literal or that it even makes sense. And this is without reading the texts proving that these things are rewritten, respoken. They are, what's the word I'm thinking of? They're copied off of each other. Each of these religions are very similar in ways. You could tell they built off of each other. And for people who believe in one religion and think that yours is unique, you need to look into how much older other religions are than yours. You understand? So that's just the thought, family. What's the point of it all, okay? A lot of people are being very emotional how they respond to me, very upset because I don't share the same beliefs. And guys, that's not right. Instead, look to understand instead of looking to judge. There's something they say here in Colombia, and that is tranquilo. That means calm down, relax. Everything's gonna be okay. Okay, whether I'm right or wrong, nothing changes. Peace, family.